everybody. Welcome to another edition of Shooting the Breeze. I'm one of your hosts, Matt, and as always, I'm joined by my other host, Ben. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
It's starting to get cold up here in Canada, so I'm bundling up for the winter. This week we have a very special guest, a friend of mine through the sphere who I've had the pleasure of being on his show, SEN Afterlife, a few times. And if I'm not mistaken, they're still your longest. About all right?
Yeah, over a year now for that show. Because SEN Live just passed their year mark and started when they started. So
yeah. So joining us is the host of SEN Afterlife, Jay Wade. How are you doing, my man?
Very good. I really appreciate the invite to come on here, both of you guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. This is what I like about this show is literally we just sit here and we just shoot the shit. We leave all the the political BS behind us. We don't get in arguments. We just talk. Hence the name Shooting the Breeze.
Oh, I should ask real quick. I didn't before. What's the cussing rule here?
No one's really ever cussed. What do you? I don't care myself.
I mean, I do have a switch. I just want to know which way it should be on or off.
Let it go. Freedom.
All right, stop at the word. See you next Tuesday. Okay.
Yeah.
Nope. No problem.
All right. So we do have a topic this week. Jay, do you want to introduce what it was you wanted to discuss with us?
Okay. Well, yeah. I have an obsession, a thought. Okay, like I love history, and I've always thought about how cool it would be to be able to go back in time and experience, but witness history, but be able to see it, hear it, feel it, every interaction and sense that you would normally have, you feel it, except that period in time is not aware of your existence, if you see what I'm saying. In a way, you're a ghost, but you can still feel and hear everything, right? But beyond that, one of my first thoughts when I thought of that was, dude, what was it like when the first time that cavemen or cavewomen discovered that they could make fire on their own? Because, I mean, I'd always thought, like, I would assume one of the natural ways that they would become aware of fire would be, say, a lightning strikes a tree, and they're like, well, there's this hot orange-yellow thing. Maybe they even realized that they could light a stick or something on fire and transport that fire. And then they discovered that they could fuel that fire, keep it going for days, weeks, months. But what was that very first time like when they realized they could start it themselves, and how did that time come about? Was he just messing around and sharpening something maybe, or just goofing off and throwing rocks, and one of them made a spark and it caught some dry brush on fire? Looking is something as innocent as a child would do. I know I did it with a magnifying glass, burning bugs. Maybe he's just bored and he's got a piece of glass that he found somewhere, and he's just kind of looking at the bug, and then realizes the sun goes through it and it lights stuff on fire. Who knows how it was? But that's the point of that curiosity for me, is to think about how that happened. And then what did they think after that? Did they think they were gods? Did they just think it was luck? But just that must have been such an amazing time and moment for them. I mean, you're going to run over to your buddies, going to be like, hey, come here, man. I did this thing. And now we got that thing that usually happens when the thing comes down from the sky and hits the tree. And he's like, dude, I did it myself. And then as it spreads out, like, pardon the pun, wildfire, these rumors of man, Blow Joe over here in this village next door, he was ticking off with some rocks and he caught some shit on fire. We got to try this. Imagine it like a YouTube challenge. A viral video goes out and people are like, man, I want to see if I can do that. So then everybody starts wondering, man, can I make fire? How can I make fire? If it happens this way, maybe, who knows, maybe that moment was the spark of the advancement in the thinking. Maybe it was, well, we can make fire and we can do it like this. Well, what else can we do?
Mm-hmm. So you think it was kind of like how the Industrial Revolution was, where it's like everything kind of started picking up steam and like more and more happened? Is that what you think happened?
I would assume so. I would assume that when you come from from pretty much no knowledge of, because I mean, we're talking way back when it's simple times, dude, using rocks as tools and whatnot, just you're not aware of things. Because usually, think about it as us as children growing up, we don't know what's going on unless someone else introduces it to us and explains what it's for and how to use it and all that kind of stuff. And then at those times is when our mind starts wandering beyond that. So I would imagine, kind of probably like that, because before then, what were they thinking about? Probably not making fire. And once they realized they could make fire, I mean, I would imagine the possibilities opened up for them. What else can we do? They might think.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I mean, the possibilities for experimentation are up there. Like, I mean, who knows? Maybe they came up with things that we don't even know they came up with, right?
Exactly.
So you were saying earlier, like, there were historical events that you would like to almost be like, I guess, a witness to is kind of what you were.
The way I like to put it in, a buddy of mine had a segment called this on an old show about 4 or 5 years ago called A Fly on History's Wall, where you could just, you are there and you are as if you were a fly on the wall. You can feel everything going on in that room. You can hear it. You have every access to that realm. But like me as a person, I'm probably not going to notice there's a fly on the wall unless it's right in front of my face. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That kind of concept of, a perfect example of that for me would be, I would love to go back in time and stand on the battlefield of an ancient Roman battle, say Caesar versus Cassius and Brutus, and smell it and hear it and feel it, what it must have been like, what it was really like. Because we don't know things like that pre-recorded as far as photography and film. We have no idea what that stuff was. So all we can do is take recordings from people throughout history, which it can be sketchy most of the time, I'd say, loosely interpreted by them as they saw it. But imagine just what it would be like if you could actually go back and be there and stand there and witness all that and see what it was really like and see what the gladiatorial fights were really like.
For me, most of the time, like when I think about that, it's just like I wouldn't mind being witness to events that have more than one theory. Like, for example, to be there when Billy the Kid died.
Yes,
because I personally am falling to the faction that I believe he survived and was, hit out as Brushy Bill Roberts, because the evidence to support that is there's too much evidence. So for me, I would like to be able to witness like a moment like that, or the moment Lincoln got shot, or because there's also conspiracy theory about that, the moment that John Wilkes Booth died, because a lot of people say the wrong person got shot, and to see what really happened. That's more where my mind gravitates towards. What about you, Ben?
I would like to see the signing of the Declaration of Independence.
That would be good.
Room to see all those guys come up with America, basically.
Yeah.
You see, because I guarantee you this: if one of those guys see America today, they would go insane to see how fucked up it is. In my opinion.
Good point. Like mine is another one of mine is not the Declaration of Independence, but it is similar. For me, it would be the Gettysburg Address.
Yeah,
that would be a good one to attend, because I you always read that it was one of the most impassioned speeches that's ever been delivered, and just that would be something that would be pretty cool to see, witness.
Yeah. And when you just brought up the Declaration of Independence, my mind went a little bit before that to witnessing the debate of whether or not they should leave the British Empire, and because that's another, even that wasn't very long ago. It's certainly not ancient times, but it's still a time when we didn't have the means to actually record the actual discussions and stuff. Maybe, dude, who knows? I'm just saying, maybe we are way off from what they wanted us to be doing. We don't know. And it would be interesting to go back and hear that actual debate they had. And, and especially when you think about the way they talked, it was just so elegant. The words were specifically chosen in those times. it's just a beautiful time for language as well. I think that would be an amazing time, Ben. Yeah.
And in moments like that, it's usually like the winners are the ones that get to write history. So to your point, we don't really know what happened. It usually is somewhere in the middle, I'd say.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you've got that family Guy joke that does the little flashback talking about the right to bear arms, and they're like, how can that be misunderstood? Everyone has the right to bear arms, and they show bear's arms mounted on a wall. And I always think about that kind of stuff when those kind of discussions come up, like, what did they really mean? Did they really mean this, or did they really mean, of course they didn't really mean bear arms mounted on the wall, but that would be hilarious if we went back in time and realized that is exactly what they meant.
Yeah, and then like another good thing would be like to be able to have conversations with historical figures just to see what they were really like,
Yeah.
Like, is there anybody like in that context that you would like to have a conversation with?
Man, I that's a good question. I think honestly, I won't say a specific person just because I don't know. This isn't my specific area of any kind of knowledge, but one of the old philosophers, like Greek philosophers, someone like that. I just to pick it, but see, and that would be interesting, I think, because I would maintain the knowledge I have now from their time up to now. To my time, I would have all the knowledge. I would just have the opportunity to talk to that person. So to hear them talk and sit there and go, wow, they were spot on about this, or you were kind of off on that a little bit. But to sit there and just hear that wisdom that they had, because they were advanced for their times even.
Oh, for sure.
You look at some of these diagrams and drawings Da Vinci made of helicopters and all this kind of, it's amazing. It's amazing. And I have often wondered, okay, now this probably isn't, but the Battlestar Galactica, the reboot series, how that ended, I've often wondered if that was real. I'm not going to spoil it. After I started saying that, I was like, I just set myself up to spoil it.
You know what, dude? I think the statute of limitations on spoilers is out for that show by now.
Okay, cool. But no, it basically was like there was an Earth, and then there was all the advancement of civilization up to about our time now, and then we nuked everybody. We got in wars. We nuked the planet, and there were like 13 colonies that went off to find other planets to live on because Earth was ruined. Then time goes on, and the history is forgotten about this Earth and all that happened. And another nuclear war comes and happens all over again. And it's a repeating cycle. And Battlestar Galactica ended with them landing on an inhabitable planet that is this current day's Earth. And it starts with like it's barely inhabited, just your local like Neanderthals and whatnot. And then it ends with them at our point in time, like an advanced society. And we're right about at that point of nuking ourselves all over again. And I've often thought about, and there are discussions about this out there, that perhaps there were ancient civilizations that were, if not as advanced, perhaps more advanced than we are now. And for whatever reason, they were wiped out. And in being wiped out, all of that history, all of that knowledge was lost.
Case in point being Atlantis. Case in point being Atlantis.
Yes. So, I mean, that's always interesting, too. What if we're like the third or fourth generation of advanced civilization? You know what I mean? And what if in 1,000 years we go extinct, and then it starts all over again, and the cycle just repeats, and then eventually everyone forgets about us, and they work their way back up to the technological advancements that we've reached right now. It's weird.
Well, we do see a pattern of, like the saying goes, those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Why do you think that is? Why do you think we always live cyclical like that? Like, why do you think we always are our own worst enemy? We don't learn from the past.
I don't think it's necessarily that we don't learn. Well, if we repeat it, then yes, obviously we haven't learned. We're aware of it. But I think there's a thing that maybe it's ego. I don't know what it is that for us humans that is like, well, yeah, it didn't work for them, but I can make it work. I somehow, or we as a collective somehow are better than them or know more than them or have a different way that is better than theirs, and we can do it. And maybe I think that's probably more likely what it is as opposed to, anything else, just that ego of I can do it, it didn't work for them, but we can do it. And then it just fails. And then you sit there and you go, well, we didn't learn from that go round, and then you're going to do it again the next 5 generations later. It's insanity, dude.
Yeah, no, that's true. Like, for example, like I've been looking at pictures because of the pandemic right now. There have been pictures released of the last time there was a pandemic in 1918. And it's amazing how eerily similar it is. You're seeing people secluded. You're seeing people wear masks. It's just like, man, I didn't realize just how cyclical that was.
Yeah.
And who knows what's next? We can guess, yes, there's going to be another pandemic. But what is that going to look like? Is it going to look more like this? Or are we going to learn from our mistakes and hopefully get better somehow? I don't know.
Well, I would hope that as humans, we will learn from our mistakes on this one. Because we're supposed to be smarter than that, but this point proven, like not all of us are.
Yeah.
Dude, I have met some really, really stupid animals that are smarter than most humans I've encountered.
Yeah, you're not wrong, man. You're not wrong.
I mean, even an animal knows, like, they can't talk, they can't communicate. You know what I mean? They don't know things on the level that we know them. To them, like, that's not a phone. To them, it's just this thing that's making this noise until the person picks it up and holds it, So, but their instinct, animal instinct, I think, is far greater than the human intelligence, man. I really think so. I honestly do.
I know you do. Well, okay. Well, what makes you think that then?
Because animals don't have listen to me. I'm like, I hate to degrade animals, mental stat, but dude, animals, they're smart for what they are in their species and all that, but they just don't have the capacity to be on our level as far as creating things. First of all, they don't have thumbs, so they can't do shit like we can anyway. But they aren't able to do that. They can't speak and communicate with us. But they're just so damn intelligent. Their instincts kick in like that. Whereas as humans, I don't think our thought process outweighs our instincts, and that clutters everything. Whereas the animal it's built in. They know, they aren't clouding anything. They're like, I see this, I see that, this is happening and this is about to happen. I need to do this. And it's all in a split second amount of time. But we as humans, we just kind of, we could be like, that's happening, this is going to happen. What should I do? That's kind of basically how I look at it on a very base level.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, you're right.
I don't have much faith in humanity, dude. I love people, and I'm like, as long as you're good to me and I don't see you being terrible to others, then I have no issues with anyone. And I genuinely love it when people get what they want and what they've worked for and their desires. I want everyone to be happy and have great lives. But at the same time, I just have very little faith in humanity as a whole. I love animals.
You're not wrong, man. Humanity does suck a lot.
Dogs are the best, dude. Just give me a dog and I'm happy. I don't need anybody else.
That's the one thing I do not like about where I live is I'm not allowed a dog.
Yeah.
That sucks.
It really does. And you know what? It's all down to one person on our strata board too.
Oh.
That's all it is. Yeah.
And this is a whole nother thing I had just said about dogs and stuff, talking about animals and talking about witnessing history and whatnot. Imagine what it would be like to witness things through the eyes of animals.
Noah's Ark, if that actually happened.
You know, I mean, you know, what did dogs think of war? What do you know, pigs in a farm think of World War II, and they saw Nazi tanks coming across the farm and all these explosions? And I mean, because like I said, they aren't on our level. They don't know this is a war. These people are fighting this. They just know there's some crazy stuff going down. But to, or even animals that have been involved in war, say elephants, for example, throughout history, people, what are those elephants thinking?
Or
They're
horses.
like, what the hell are you guys getting me into, dude?
Yeah, horses too. Horses have been part of war.
Yeah, horses. Or even, and it doesn't even have to be war or violence. It can be anything. Just, you know, just because everything has a perspective, not just humans, but animal perspective to me is interesting too. And then when you factor that into history, I don't know. Another example, Julius Caesar's assassination. We don't know. We never will know. But what if there were some birds that happened to be in the Senate that day that had gotten in and they witnessed it? I mean, you know, who gives a shit what a bird thinks? But what, for real though, what was that bird thinking when it saw these 12, 13 men just slaughter this guy on the floor? Yeah. You know, they don't know what's going on. They don't understand. But what were they thinking?
Yeah. What would be a fun one to think would be like when the Titanic sank, like where there, you know, animals nearby are going, what the hell's this, you know?
Sharks, man. They're like, dude, dinner time.
Yeah. Dolphins.
How about on Turkey, you know, Thanksgiving? You're like, oh, shit, it's almost November. What am I going to do? I hope I'm not the moon this year.
Yeah. Or, ooh, this is a fun game being chased by an axe.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
There was something else that I mean, because all this is interesting, because when you're talking about history, period, then you can get into all the conspiracy theories about it too. And I was just introduced to this conspiracy theory. I didn't get in depth with it. I cut him off a little short because it just seemed too far-fetched for me to even want to get into, but that the Great Wall of China was made by aliens. And I
never heard that one.
Yeah, I couldn't tune in much longer than that much right there. It was like, dude, Great Wall of China was made by aliens, man. There was no way that it could have been done. And I think right about then was when I was like, nah, dude, sorry. I can't listen to this one. Yeah,
people say the same thing about the pyramids, just because how the hell do you get something that big, that high?
I agree with that, though. I do. I think it is very, very likely that aliens were involved in the pyramids, man. I think aliens could have been very well involved in everything throughout our history.
What was that one movie? It was James Peter and Stargate.
Yes.
Yeah, the aliens building pyramids, right?
Yeah,
who knows? Anything is possible, right?
Oh yeah, and that's what the great thing about. See, I mean, to each their own, but I don't like trying to talk about things like this with people who don't have a speculative mind. Speculating is the most fun when you're talking about things, in my opinion. Dude, I love talking about things that I don't know very much about more than I like talking about things I know a lot about, because I like to speculate. And most of my speculation I know is BS, but that's the fun bit of it. Because you don't know, dude. You don't. Magic, it could be real. Is it? I doubt it. Not these days. At one point in time, I do believe it could have been real. But David Blaine is not a magician. He doesn't do magic.
Chris Angel is a different story, though. Have you seen some of that guy's stuff? Like, that's the one where I'm like, that he's the one magician that has made me question if it's real or not.
Really?
Yeah. Just some of the stuff I've seen him do. Like the one that always struck in my mind when I used to watch the show Mind Freak was he was surrounded by a bunch of people on the streets of Las Vegas. He's like, okay, what I want you to do is I want you to put this trash can over me. And then when I count to, I think it was 10, just lift it off. So he did that. They put him on. You can still hear him talking. They counted 10, pulled it off, and he's on top of a building.
Dude.
It's just like, how?
Yeah, okay. See, when I see that stuff, my mind is like, dude, that's amazing. My mind is blown, but not because my mind is blown because I want to know how they did it. As
Right.
in, there's obviously an explanation to it. I mean, he didn't really magically transport himself to this other location, but something obviously just happened, and I want to know how they did it.
Right.
Now, bringing this back around to history again, because if you say that, I wonder, imagine like a David Blaine or a Chris Angel going back in time and performing their magic in like the medieval times or even the ancient times. How would those people have fucking reacted to that?
Burn him at the stake. Like, I'm of the opinion if Jesus Christ was around in Salem, he'd be burned.
Yeah.
Okay, you just said, see, this is how you guys are getting a good peek inside how my mind works, man. It's like I'm channel surfing here. Okay, so let's get a David Blaine versus Jesus in ancient times. David Blaine goes back in Jesus times and does a little magic show against Jesus. Who do you think wins?
Well, if you're going with what we have in the Bible, I would have to say Jesus, because the man did turn a few loaves of bread and a couple of fish and fed thousands. So I'd have to go.
He walked on water.
And he walked on water, turned water to wine, healed leprosy.
But did Jesus ever levitate?
Well, if he did, okay. I'm a Catholic. I went to Catholic school, so. When he did die, and he after 3 days after he resurrected, when he ascended to heaven, technically he did, but
okay. Oh, okay. You brought that up. I've got a question here. I've always wondered. Okay. So, and not going to get into religion, but I've often wondered, what if God is an alien, heaven is another planet, and in the Bible, when it talks about the light coming down and people ascending to heaven, what if those are spaceships with the light coming down, like people report in their abductions?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Up into the spaceship.
You see a direct correlation between
alien and angels are other aliens that serve this God alien. Heaven is a planet.
Yeah. I kind of agree with you, because, like, look, there is direct correlation, and, like, I mean, who knows? Maybe. Again, if we do not mean to offend anybody with this, but I mean, like, what if the people back in those days, that was their explanation for aliens, was a god of some sort, right?
Wouldn't it be crazy?
Yeah. And I mean, like, if you look at any god in any religion, what if they were just aliens? Like, I mean, hell, some of the Egyptian ones had the head of a fucking eagle.
Yeah. I mean, and you never know, and that's what I love about it all.
Yeah, and like that is something I like, going back to being witness to historical events. I would love personally to go back to like 30 AD and see if Jesus actually existed, and to see, how accurate it was, because from what we know of the Bible, I think the first gospel was written like only 40 years after he died. Everything else was like 200 years. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff lost in translation there that I would like to see just how accurate it is.
Yeah.
I would like to see Moses with the actual 10 Commandments.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
One of my favorite jokes in the movie is in Mel Brooks' History of the World Part 1, where he's like, behold the 15, the 10 commandments.
Love that.
Yeah.
Movie.
Yeah, because I've seen theories about the parting of the Red Sea and how they've tried to explain it off as a natural phenomenon, wasn't really an intervention of any kind. So yeah, that's a great one to see, like controversial things, or maybe not even controversial, but things that are questionable at the very least. Noah's Ark would be another one, dude. Holy shit. Yeah, dude, imagine like slamming the door on that one for sure. Yes or no?
Yeah, and like they said, the earth flooded. So how did it really flood? How much so? What happened to the ark? Like, everyone's trying to find it. What actually happened to it?
Yeah. And just a side note, talking about the ark, this is something funny I like to bring up. For those who I don't take the Bible literally, like word for word. I just see it as more of a guideline and stories. I feel it's
you're speaking my language right there, man.
Of the times and customs and stuff like that. But for those who do take the Bible, like word for word, it is literal. There are two things that those people believe in, whether they think they do or not. There's one thing, but two examples. that God is perfectly fine with incest. And the two examples is Adam and Eve. If they populated the earth, obviously incest was involved. I mean, it clearly had to be so. If you got two people and they populate the earth, incest was involved. And then you skip ahead to Noah's Ark.
Well, I was going to say, think about it. There wasn't that many options during Adam and Eve.
Right. But then you go to Noah's Ark, which is even more damning.
Yeah.
Because then you've definitely got, like, I would imagine uncle on niece, nephew on, brother on sister-in-law, brother on sister. But I mean, and I'm not trying to be crude, but I mean, if people think about it literal like that, then you believe that God has no issue with incest, because according to the Bible, it was populated twice. The earth was.
I think you just described braziers in biblical times.
Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones.
Or Game of Thrones, yeah.
Yeah.
As a Jew, I would like to go back and see the 10 plagues, too.
Oh, yeah.
Passover, to see if that was real or not.
Yeah, that would definitely be a good one, because, what were the 10 plagues again? Like, there was locusts, there was the river turned to blood, there was the death of the firstborn.
The flood.
Yeah.
How many were there? 10?
10
plagues, yeah.
I'm looking it up here real quick. Water turning to blood, frogs, lice, flies, livestock pestilence, boils, hail, locusts, darkness, and the killing of the firstborn child.
Yeah.
Woof. Yeah, some of those are pretty rough.
Yes. See, that would be cool too, to find out what really happened there as well.
I would like to go back in time and take a picture of Jesus and show them to the people, to the radicals, and say, "See, he doesn't look like you."
Yeah, I know, dude. That is always. I was raised in the church, man.
Me too.
That is something that has always bothered me. I'm like, wait a minute. Jesus was Jewish and he was from the Middle East. He clearly couldn't have been white. So there's something wrong with these pictures here.
A lot of that started happening once, like, the Romans started adapting Christianity as their religion. Like, that is a story that is fascinating on itself. Like, speaking of places I would like to go to see the Council of Nicaea, where they actually determine what goes in the Bible. Because back before that, you had all different forms of Christianity that had their own beliefs. Nobody could get anything right. And that's when that council happened. So we can say, okay, we need to have one umbrella we need to fall under. I would love to be in that room.
Bringing up Jesus, and kind of like what you said, Matt. Have you ever seen that Family Guy episode where Jesus comes back and him and Peter become friends? And I forget what part it is, but Peter said to Jesus, before you leave, there's one thing I have to do. And you see Peter going up to George Bush with Jesus. And I forget the line, but it was really funny. It was really like what you said.
Yeah, and I just played a video game where you could use Jesus as a boss ender and kill a whole bunch of people with a Uzi. So,
oh wow,
South Park, Stick of Truth.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
There's an achievement in that game, because one of the side quests is you have to go into the church and find Jesus. There's actually a quest where you get there's a version of it where you get an achievement if you find Christ as a Jew.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. What would be great is if you have to go into the church to find Jesus and you look for hours and they never put Jesus in the church. That there is a good joke.
That would be their thing was, like, the first time Jesus is, like, hiding in the pews, like, poking his head, like, hee. And then the second time you have to turn the lights a certain way and he's, like, standing behind the altar like he does on the cross. It's just
I have to play this game.
You really do, man. They're good.
It's online, you said?
Yeah, like, you have PC, correct? You don't.
I have Mac.
Yeah, you have Mac. Yeah, they're available for the PC, so they shouldn't be that expensive either.
No.
Hey, Alexander,
yes, that's another good one.
Now, if I'm correct, I'm pretty sure, but dude, sometimes I get things mixed up, but he's the one who made it all the way to the Chinese coast and wept because he had no more land to conquer, correct? Was that him or someone else?
I think that might have been someone else because he died relatively young. Like he had.
That's kind of what I thought too. I'm getting them mixed up, but
he had like one of the biggest empires, but I think he died before he could conquer all of the known world.
All right. Well, whoever that was that went all the way to China, the explorer or conqueror, whoever it was, and got to the coast and wept because they couldn't. They had no more land to go conquer. Imagine if that were a true story and being there and watching this grown, strong, powerful man weeping because he has no more land to take over. That would be something.
That would be something. But again, Alexander the Great, back to him, like that would be another one to go back in time to see how he died, because there is controversy with how he died as well, and just to see just what it was like to live during his reign, because he pretty much ruled most of the known world at that time.
Yeah. And did he really shag Angelina Jolie like in the movie? I want to know. Was he really doing his mom? Come on.
Maybe.
Dude, honestly, back then in those times, a lot of people probably were. I'm sure publicly it was shunned, but behind closed doors, it was probably not that big of a deal.
You know what? Back then, homosexuality, wasn't a big deal because that's just the way it was. You were surrounded in spoils of war with fellow men and some of that, so you did what you had to.
Kind of like prison, man. Sometimes your wrist gets sore, and the left hand, if you're righty, it's hard.
Yeah, just don't drop the soap.
Yeah. Oh man, dude. Real quick side note, since you brought that up.
Oh God.
I had to, and I didn't do anything terribly bad as driving under a suspended license, so I didn't rob or beat anyone. But I had to do like 10 days in county jail once, like 15 years ago or whatever. So while I was in there, the shower's in the day room, and I'm in the shower, and I dropped the soap, and as soon as it hit the floor, one of the guys he was sitting down, but he started patting his feet on the floor as if he were running to the shower stall. It was just the greatest thing in the world. But yeah, you said that, and I heard those footsteps coming.
Yeah. So for the rest of your time, you slept with one eye open.
Oh, you know it. Well, actually, that same guy, my first night sleeping there, and this has not. Well, it's history of Wade. This you each have your own individual cells in this county jail, and so the beds are on the same. Like the guy next to me, his bed is connected to mine. It's like one long steel bars that go through the wall, and both beds are on there. Are on the same piece of steel.
Okay.
So my first night there, something went down, and the next morning I had just mentioned that my bed was shaking. I wasn't aware that they were connected, and why it was shaking because the guy on the other side of the wall was thinking about his missus, I guess. But that's the same guy who made the sound like he was running to the shower. But anyway,
that's a little too close for me.
Oh man. But hey, real quick, not jails, but kind of shower related. Dude, have you ever really thought about how absolutely disgusting Roman public bathrooms were?
I don't want
they would blow up from time to time, and the sponge on his. Are you familiar with the sponge on a stick thing? Are you familiar with that?
Well, I know about a loofah, and I know about the joke from Stripes. God, I wish I was a loofah.
Dude, yeah, Roman bathrooms. They were their public bathrooms. There were no stalls. It was just a bench with a bunch of holes.
Yeah. I've seen pictures of them.
Male, female. It was no segregated genders or nothing. But the worst thing about this, other than the smell and the occasional explosions, there was a community stick with a sponge on it, and that's what they used to wipe their ass, dude.
Yeah,
and they never cleaned it. So like, I would wipe my butt, and then I would sit it down next to the thing, get up and leave, and the next guy would come in, use it, wipe their butt with it, and just keep going on.
That's just fucking gross. No wonder they didn't live to be old people most of the time. That's just wrong.
Yeah.
Ugh. I find it weird when people share the same towel. Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't do that either.
Oh yeah. Whenever I travel, I bring my own towel.
Yeah.
Towel and pillow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm just grossed out.
Oh my gosh.
This is
my mind's wandering into a territory like
like
drop.
really my only context for like, you know, bathhouses and stuff is from playing the recent Assassin's Creed video games. Because there's a mission in the last one where you had to go and kill someone in a bathhouse.
Right. Oh my gosh. That just triggered. Imagine going back and watching the Vikings, their cleansing thing, like how they would start. The first guy would start with the bowl of water, wash his face, put it in his hair, spit and blow their nose in the fucking bowl of water, pass it on to the next guy, and each person would do that. And dude, how gross would that be, but also very interesting to watch. And how disgusting would that be to be the last guy that has that bowl?
Oh,
It's just so gross, dude. So gross.
Well, I would love to see it when the Vikings were the first Europeans to land on North America.
Yes. They had Columbus's ass beat by a long time.
For sure. They found longhouses and stuff in Newfoundland like years ago that proved that. Yeah.
It looks really cool too, man. It got like it looks like they built it into the ground kind of a little bit, and it's cool, man. Yeah.
And Columbus, screw him.
Who cares? I ain't got no patience for somebody who takes credit for something they didn't do.
That sounds familiar. Looking at the current, I'm not going to go there.
Please no.
Like we hear that all the time on TV these days.
Yeah, something's going on. I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah.
Football game. That's right. It's the Packers versus the 49ers. That's what everybody's so stoked about tonight.
Yep, pretty much.
It's in the baseball game. I don't know.
Yeah, there's not. Yeah, could be any one of those.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, it's somewhere. It's a hotly contested race.
Yeah. How many? Now, okay. Not getting our current political, but like when they had elections back in the day, Greece and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, let's go back and witness how their elections worked out. Like, because we know, like, they had the stones they used, but like when things got crazy. And how did they sort things out? And what was their way of ensuring that things went down properly?
And how long did it take? How long did they have to wait?
Yeah, and also to see how much democracy has evolved, or if it's even evolved at all,
or devolved, for that matter.
Exactly, or devolved.
Because I would imagine as time goes on, which is clearly the case. For us in the United States, which is still a very young country.
When you think about it,
our freedoms have devolved over time, and I'm not some conspiracy nut or anything, and I'm not bitching. I'm just saying the reality is that when this country first started, there were a lot more freedoms. People could do a lot more things, and it's natural as time goes on. People come up with more things that, you shouldn't be able to do this for these reasons, and this shouldn't be allowed for these reasons. So as you go on and on, very well could be the devolution of republics through time. Yeah, that'd be interesting, man. Seeing the very first republic, what it was like, what it was intended to be, how it worked, did it work? And then just as a comparison for the way things are now all around the world, man.
Yeah, that's what I said. I would like to go back to the Declaration, because that is right around there. The first election was Washington, and seeing what he was like as the very first president.
Yeah, and to see exactly how he became president and like why they chose him, and that would definitely be very, very interesting, and also to see like why they chose the rules that they made, because I mean, if you look at the Constitution, like a lot of those early amendments are for things that we don't have to deal with nowadays, for the most part, right?
Yep. Some mainly because technological advances. A lot of it, like the core stuff as far as rights and stuff like that, a lot of that it was ahead of its time. It was advanced, and it didn't
not fully realized though, because it's kind of like it almost is like everybody has their freedom except for that group over there.
Well, that's what I was about to say. The problem with it though was that it was hard to actually make happen, and it didn't happen as fast as everyone would like it to have happened, or as fast as should have happened. But you got to understand that there again, that the United States, for example, is still a very young country. I mean, we're sitting here talking about Greece and Egypt and Rome, which was fucking thousands of years ago. And when the Constitution was written was about a little over 200 years ago. So it's hard. And for me, it's hard to take a heavy stance of, we haven't done enough, or we aren't this, or we aren't that. And because you've got to look at the progression. Because like I said, we're so young, but if you look at the advancement of civilization over all of time, just in the last probably 200-300 years, civilization around the world has advanced farther than it has throughout the entire time of its existence. So it's just it has happened very fast, the progression and advancement of civilization, but it's still just a slow process. It's all very hard to comprehend.
Well, they're in the movie.
We're not comprehend, but
in the movie D2, The Mighty Ducks, like there is a good point that is made by the tutor. I think you might know where I'm going, Ben, where she said, in the grand scheme of things, basically America is a teenager. Like we're still learning, or well, not me, I'm Canadian, but it's same idea, because we're not that much younger than you guys. But I mean, like we're still in the processes of learning. There's still a whole bunch of stuff that we don't know how to do yet compared to the other things. So yeah, in the grand context of things, we're still just teenagers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn that Mighty Ducks. So we can give us lessons even when we don't know it.
Who knew?
Yeah.
Remember, cover your eye, Ben.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I love history, dude.
Yeah, me too.
There's so much you can get from it, and not just from lessons, but entertainment factor, dude.
Yeah,
like I watch history docs for hours on YouTube.
What I've been finding myself doing like a lot, like I say, within the last year, is just following down rabbit holes of articles before I go to bed. And then there's a YouTube channel that I just discovered. Ben, I talked about it on Soul Talk. It's the History Guys, the History Guy, History that Deserves to Be Remembered. And he does 15-minute videos on things we've never heard of that happened in history, or like how things came to be, like example, chocolate or tires. But then he's also talking about, like I mentioned, his name was Evelyn Wood. He was a field marshal in the British Army during the Victorian era, and he's probably the most accident-prone person I've ever heard of. Man, he like broke almost all his bones in his body, got his face stepped on by a giraffe, lost his hearing at a young age, and he's managed to die in his sleep at age 81. Holy
crap.
Right? So, I mean, that's the type of stuff I like to learn about, is just stuff you don't hear about. Yeah. That's what I love, especially after I've had a joint, too.
Well, let me ask you guys this. Do you have a favorite historical movie that you like to watch? Like from a certain time period?
Titanic.
And bearing in mind that historical movies are not historically accurate.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
Tell that to my grandmother.
Yeah. The one I like to go back to the most is Gettysburg. I think mostly for the speeches, which that movie is pretty much 3 hours of speeches and then an hour of action. But it's such a great movie that doesn't pander to any side. It doesn't glorify or degrade any side. It just says, yo, this is what happened, and these dudes fucked up, and these dudes won, and this was this great battle that was absolutely devastating and terrible. But that's one that I love for the speeches and I don't know. It's a hard thing for me personally to think about, like the Civil War stuff. Just because that a Civil War, think about it, it is literally, and in this one is literally in some cases, brother fighting brother.
Yeah.
I mean, this is your country, your same country people, dude. it's hard to think about, but it's important to think about. But that movie is, I'd say for me, is
I've actually never seen Gettysburg. I don't think it's streaming up here in Canada. It is one that I've heard a lot about. I would like to watch for sure. And the reason for me, like why I say a Titanic is my favorite historical movie, because it's interesting to take a look. It's only 100 years ago, but it's interesting to take a look at like the mind of the people back then, because they thought they were invincible. They thought they could, beat the odds. They could beat the gods. Nothing could sink this ship. And then all of a sudden, you're given 2 hours to live, and it's just like, okay, what are you going to do with those 2 hours? How are you going to spend them, right?
Well, you have many things who, according to Zoolander, is a cool dude. So
yeah,
who knew?
But I mean, also like that event is pretty important for when it comes to maritime laws. Like because of that, they had to make it mandatory to have enough lifeboats on the boat, mandatory to have the right amount of lifeboats. Like all of the laws changed after that one moment. So that's why I think it's an important historical event, and one that I like to watch the movie, because I think it's a good movie.
Yeah, that movie has a great cast too.
Oh, for sure.
I think for me, my favorite historical movie is not very historical accurate. And think what you want about the main actor, about the Patriot.
I was just going to say The Patriot. I love it. It's a lesser Braveheart. Let's just say put that out there, but it is a good movie. I don't think I've ever hated a character more than when Colonel Tamington burned down that fucking church.
Mm-hmm.
It still makes me mad.
Yep.
I mean, Mel Gibson is an asshole. I think that out of the way. He is an asshole. But my God, him in that movie, for me, just nails it. And Jason Isaacs, awesome villain.
He's my hands down my favorite movie villain, just because he makes me hate him so much.
And
from Green Mile, that's my all-time movie villain.
Oh, really?
Dude, that when I watch Green Mile, and every time it builds and it builds and it builds, but when Percy does not wet the sponge, at that moment, if that actor were in front of me in real life, and even if I knew he was an actor, I would still beat the shit out of him. It pisses me off so bad. You can hear it in my voice now. I'm getting riled up.
That's exactly how I feel about Tamington in that church. Like, I mean, he locks all those fucking people in the church and burns them to death just to send a message to Mel Gibson. Like, who the fuck does that? And then when Heath Ledger gets there and he finds his wife's medallion, it's just like, dude, give me a fucking gun. I'm going to go kill him myself.
Yep.
It's a great movie, and I feel it's an underrated movie.
It is. Like, when was the last time you guys watched it, if you don't mind me asking?
I've watched it this year during quarantine.
Okay.
Watched it.
Yeah, I watched it last year when my mom bought me 4K, and I got to say, yes, it's a good movie, but that's why I say it's a lesser Braveheart. Like, Braveheart does that movie better.
Right. Yeah, but I think maybe we can all agree the best part of The Patriot, hands down, is when he is when Gibson is riding out of the little fort thing, and he whistles, and the Great Danes run out with him and leave with him, because they
was a great scene.
Like that other asshole. Was it Cornwallis? I think maybe it was.
Yeah, it was Cornwallis. Yeah, and there is one scene too, though, that just breaks my heart. It doesn't make me angry or anything, but it's when he leaves the island and his daughter has refused to talk to him the whole time.
Oh my God, I cry every time.
Daddy, don't go.
I'll say anything. What do you want me to say? And I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, may she rest in peace. Sadly, that actress actually died not that long ago, but in the last 10 years. Yeah, horrible. I can't remember her. I'll have to look it up. But unfortunately, she something happened. She died. Just give me a moment.
Yeah.
I think honestly, outside of Joker, I think that's my favorite Heath Ledger role.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to watch it tomorrow.
Yeah, it's good.
I want to watch it again.
Yeah, my mom went to Prince George, which is like 6 hours away. I'm like, could you please pick it up for me in on 4K, please? Yeah, she died at age 21 in 2014.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah. How did she die again?
Car accident?
Oh no, it wasn't. They just found her dead in her home, and they think I'm gonna have to do some epileptic seizures that she was suffering from.
Oh wow!
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was pretty sad.
Oh.
Yeah.
I know this is far from that, but I just on the screen here I saw the yellow behind us there, and the yellow made me think of Star Wars. And dude, talk about a place that I would like to go back to in history a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. That would be dope, dude. I wish that were real so that I could really claim that I would go there to witness that.
Oh.
4K, baby.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I've got this and Braveheart in 4K.
Awesome.
Yeah. Speaking of Star Wars, actually, I think it would be kind of cool to, kind of shadow that set of the original Star Wars to see what was going through their minds at that time.
Yeah, remember, everybody thought it wasn't going to be a hit. Everyone thought it was going to be a flop.
A flop, yeah. And then Alec Guinness saying is one of the stupidest things I've ever done.
Yeah, man. That is history, dude. It's in the past. So yeah, that would definitely count. And then you open that door into like, imagine some of the disastrous movies that we've heard about, like that were hard to make, like the great ones that had disastrous stories behind the scenes and shit. Like that. Yeah, there you go, man.
Apocalypse Now. Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, with Martin Sheen having his heart attack.
Yeah. Whoa. And not to get morbid, but I mean, I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm not advocating or glorifying anything. I mean, I find it fascinating, serial killers and stuff, but perhaps Sharon Tate murders not in like a glorifying way, but imagine what that might be like to witness that kind of stuff too. I mean,
one better. The Black Dahlia.
Yeah, see, there you go. Yeah, ones where we don't know the Jack the Ripper. Go back and follow Jack the Ripper and find out who that really was, what made him tick, and all that.
There was the one that Mark Andreyko wrote the comic book for that I really want to get, the Torso Murders of Cleveland. Nobody knows who did that.
I just watched a short documentary about that the other day. That's crazy. Yeah, that was crazy, dude. Yeah. See, then you get it in, because I will admit, until now, I had only thought of this in like a historical context, as far as like Rome, ancient Greece, all this kind of stuff. But now I'm like, dude, like, yeah, like I'm all about going back and not chilling with Jack the Ripper, but following him and seeing who he really was, what was going on. And I mean, like Wyatt Earp, OK Corral. What really happened there, dude?
Amelia Earhart, she went to what happened with her.
Yeah.
How about this one? John F. Kennedy. Find out
that. Have you guys, this is where I fall down deep rabbit holes. You can actually watch this as a Zapruder film on YouTube, and they actually have it at a slow enough frame rate where you see the bullet enter and the brains come out the back.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, that is not at all how it's been presented to us. I don't care what anybody says. There was definitely more than one shooter. It was a conspiracy. I don't think that Lyndon Johnson was in on I don't think he brought it up or had any involvement in the planning of it, but I do think he was aware that it was going to happen.
So he was more peripheral?
Yeah, I think someone let him know, because he and Kennedy didn't get along. That was well known. But really? I think it was one of those where like someone came to him and said, look, I'm not going to get into details with you, but like this is going to happen in Dallas, and you need to be prepared. I think he knew that it was going to happen at the very least. So
see, a lot of people say the same thing about Lincoln's assassination, that a lot of people of his cabinet knew about it or were actually part of the plot. So that's another moment where it's like to go back and see what really happened. Why did Booth do what he did? Like, who was involved in this, right?
Yeah.
But a big one for me, like I said earlier, would be Amelia Earhart, because that one's always fascinating me as a kid. Like, was she captured? Did she actually go down in the ocean? Like, what happened? Yeah. Or another one, I don't know if you guys ever heard the ghost story of the Mary Celeste. So it's a ship in the 1800s. It was just found floating adrift. There was literally no sign of violence. Nobody was on board. There was no blood, nothing. Nobody knows what happened to the crew. The captain's log just stops at a certain point. They never found any traces. One lifeboat was missing. Nobody knows what happened. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Roswell.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, was it really just a weather balloon and dummies, or were there really aliens? You know,
Yep. Or and this is another big one for me: the the Lost Franklin expedition in the Northwest Passage. That's a major Canadian one, right? And like I've been fascinated with that for like the last 10 years. I've read so many books. I've watched so many documentaries. They actually found the two ships. They thought they were lost for years. No, they found them sunken and in perfect condition up in the Northwest Territories.
Yeah, the Terror is what you're talking about.
Terror and the Erebus,
yeah. That is an amazing story, dude.
Yes,
amazing and frightening. Wow.
Yeah, if you guys ever get a chance, I recommend reading the book Frozen in Time that was written right after they discovered they exhumed the bodies and to see what killed everybody. That's a good book to read.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, so on that note, that brings us to the end of our show. It's usually we just go for about an hour. Thank you very much, Jay. These are the kind of conversations I like, where you just start on a topic and you just start going all over the place. We talked about the Franklin expedition to current day politics, to Rome, to ship sticks, you name it. We pretty much talked about it.
Great.
Yeah. So where can everyone find you, my man?
Y'all can find me on the Twitter at jwade1134. That is the letter J, WADE 1134. I host some shows. They're listed in my bio there, so I'm not going to run through them all, but I host and co-host some shows, Mandalorian Review, Bachelor shows, stuff like that. So be more than happy for everybody to check it out.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of being on the first incarnation of SCN Afterlife twice, and man, those episodes were long, but they were a lot of fun.
Yes. Yeah. Ben, we'll have you on too sometime.
Awesome. I would love to do that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's a great time, and it's on video now, right?
Yes. We just started a new phase on video. Got a new co-host. The Schmoes community may be aware of Dean Lewis, a fellow from UK, good guy. And so he not only brings a different perspective because he's not me, but he brings a UK perspective. I don't know. I like to pick on him just a little bit. We're still getting to know each other, but I grilled him on why they call cookies biscuits and what they call potato chips if they call it's just they're crazy, dude. They're crazy. But yeah, it's a good time, and we're on video now is the main point. Right
on. Yeah, no, I had definitely a lot of fun, but just unfortunately when you record, I'm at work, so I can't really be around that. That's the only bummer. Ben, where can everybody find you, my man?
You can find me at my Twitter at BenRadio2. You can find me every Sunday with Matt on Get Swinny. And you can find me every Saturday on Mount Schmodown, where we go into deep about Schmodown competitors every week.
Right on. And then, like Ben said, places where you can find the both of us together. You can also find me over on the Schmoes of the North YouTube channel, hosting the shows Schmodo Night in Canada, which we have tried to have Jay on, but unfortunately those didn't really go that well.
Didn't work. Yeah. We got to go for the third here. There's some good Schmodown action coming up with the tournament start.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're supposed to be recording our new episode. I hope looks like it's tomorrow. And you also find me hosting co-hosting Northern Consultations, where the latest episode to drop was with the team that is playing this week. We interviewed the Misfits, Eric Zipper and Adam Witt, which was a fun time. This is the second time we've had them both on, and both times were amazing. We even played the Newlywed Game with them, which was pretty interesting. Yeah, and I forgot to mention, you can find me at soda_the_saxman, Twitter and Instagram. You can find me pretty much everywhere. I'm usually pretty active on all forms of social media, so I'm all over. I'm like herpes. I'm everywhere. I have to bring that joke back. That's an old Schmoes of the North thing. They hate it now. But anyways, on that note, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for watching. Jay, again, thank you very much for joining. And we will talk to you guys later.